Your mind is a great servant but a terrible master. Yes, writing is about imagination, that's where it starts, but you shouldn't stay there. If you do, that's when your ideas grow stale and you get bogged down. You need to start recognizing when you are slipping into this dangerous state of overthinking and free yourself. But how do you do that? There are 4 don'ts to keep in mind. The first is don't worry about how it should feel. We have this preconception that writing is about a rush of creativity, of unstoppable flow as the words pour onto the page, but this is more the exception than the rule. Sometimes you're feeling average or low on enthusiasm. These are the important moments where the thing is to just show up. Often, after writing for a while, you'll start to feel the energy build, start to feel the enjoyment rising. Other times, you just won't have this pickup. It will stay pretty low all the way through the session. Here, do what you can and then let it go. If it's summertime, head for an ice cream. Otherwise, whatever you need to do just to put it out of your mind and come back the next day. The same goes for quality. Don't worry about quality. Don't focus on what you have written. Of course you need to review it, but your focus should always be on returning to that original idea, to the source. And what you do, you don't engage with it intellectually, you engage with it emotionally. What was the original spark that motivated you to write this story in the first place? Why is this essential? If you engage with that, then the words will follow, because writing is ultimately a translation of that feeling, of that experience. If you truly feel it, then your imagination will expand to find the words that do justice to that emotion. So don't worry about quality. Think instead about the motivating idea. Third, don't worry about how long it's taking. Some sections will go by like a breeze. Other parts you'll have to slog it out. It can go fast and slow, and you can't entirely predict what it's going to be like one day to the next. The thing is, when you're going slow, you may actually be doing a better job, because those are the hardest sections. Think about driving. Some days you have a clear, open highway and you can put your foot down. On other days, you're having to drive up those twisty, difficult mountain roads. Accept going slow sometimes. The caveat to this is when you find yourself rewriting a passage over and over again, almost in a trance-like, hypnotized state. For example, if you're reading the passage but not really paying attention to it, not really drawing out the meaning from the sentences because you are so used to the words that you know what's coming next, it's time to move on to the next section, leave that bit for a while, or just plain outsource it to a friend because you are too close to it. It's like having the writing right up against your face. You can't see the wood for the trees. So that's the caveat. But otherwise, don't worry about how long it's taking. Fourth, don't go beyond the skeleton. You can suffer from filling in too many details. This is often the case when you have this rush of enthusiasm in the planning stage and you want to drive down all these side roads about minor characters, minor character traits, subplots, etc. Stick with the main substance of the story. Get the skeleton and trust yourself to create the details as you go. And why can you trust that you'll get the details right? It's because the original feeling, the original motivation is still fresh. It's overthinking that kills that feeling, and that's when you draw blanks when it comes to filling in the details. A good way to conceptualize the skeleton is to know your destination, where the story is ultimately headed. Know the main waypoints along the way, understand the character's main driving force, and brainstorm a few ways you may show that through the story. So that's it. I'm going to practice what I preach now and draw the video to a close, except for a little conclusion. Overthinking is where writers give up. The idea grows stale. They look at the page and it's only half full. They don't feel any progress and they've lost their sense of enjoyment. These 4 don'ts, they will stop you from drifting away from your purpose and keep you on the straight and true path. This quote from St. Aubin sums it up the best. He had become so caught up in building sentences that he had forgotten the barbaric days when thinking was like a splash of colour landing on a page. I hope with these tips, that is how your writing feels. Enjoy, and I'll see you next week.